As you're looking for your others, I just want to share with you. This is based on last week's scripture. I've written a publication. It's actually on the table. You can take a copy when you go, called 6 Views of Passion. And it's a perspective from different people during the week of Christ. And view number 3 takes place around a fire. And this is what this person says. I recognized him right away. We were in the courtyard, and it was chilly, to say the very, very least. Being inside would have been a much better option. And although I was a servant and a woman, some would say a girl, I was not allowed in where the men were on the inside. And I really didn't want to be in there anyway. I'd seen their cruelty before and how they despised this Nazarene. So there was no telling how bad it would become. Instead, I stayed in the courtyard. There was a fire in the middle of the courtyard, and I thought I would get near the warmth that the flames were giving off. As I approached, I saw him by the fire. His clothes were definitely those of a fisherman, probably someone from Galilee. I had seen the teacher in the temple earlier in the week, and this man had been with them, and I spoke to him, and I said, "You were with the Nazarene, weren't you?" He looked at me, a strange look in his eyes, and then he quickly said, "I do not know or understand what you are saying." And without another word, he turned and he immediately walked out into an adjacent porch. In the background, I heard a rooster crow, and in that moment, I saw him just stutter in his pace just a little bit. I stayed by the fire trying to warm myself on a night that was inexplicably cold. Officially, I was on duty. As a servant, I was always on duty. Still, I knew it would be a while before I would be summoned to do anything, and I just waited and stayed near the fire. And a little while later, I saw him again. He'd come back closer to get warm, and yet not close enough to engage with anyone else. And when I saw him, I told some of those standing around me in a loud voice so that he could hear. He was one of them. He just looked at me again and denied it again. He's a cold-blooded liar. Then I heard the voices of some of the others around me who had seen him and heard him talk, and they seemed to agree with me and began to say to him, "No, you are one of them. We can tell by the way you talk. You're not from around here. You're from Galilee." Suddenly, this Galilean turned and faced us and let out a string of curses and obscenities that could have only been learned as a fisherman. I cannot even begin to recount all the words he said, but he ended the string of denials almost at the top of his lungs by saying, "I do not know him." The words hung in the air for a few minutes in an unnatural, stunned silence that overwhelmed all of us. The silence didn't last long in reality, but it felt like it lingered forever before being broken, and somewhere not too far away, a rooster crowed. For the second time in the middle of the night, I heard a rooster. I turned to look for it, but did not see it. And then I brought my gaze back to this man from Galilee, but when I looked at this man, however, I was shocked. This loud, defiant, profane man stood there in the middle of the courtyard, face covered in tears that appeared almost instantaneously. He locked his eyes with mine for just a second, and he turned and ran away. I'll never forget that night. So many things happened after that. The weekend was one filled with more drama than I can ever recall. Yet as I think about all of it, that brief encounter with that man is the thing that stays with me. Why did that man lie so vehemently? Why did that man cry so violently? Why did he run away?